Developing your skills, being competent at what you do. I don't think anyone would deny or will not acknowledge the fact that this lady has the right skill set for this kind of role or this kind of function. So let your competence and let your skill set speak for it.
Absolutely.
Women are problem solvers. That resilience, that can-do spirit, it will always add up. You may not necessarily be in the room when your name will be mentioned.
So your
But your competence, your skill will speak for you. In the course of leadership, I've been responsible for people, I've been responsible for products, I've been responsible for operations.
Good morning. Welcome to the Made in Payment podcast. With me today is an amazing lady. You know, when they say the giants of fintechs, the giants of fintech in Africa who remain, you know, those elves that make things happen, but they don't want to come out. So we brought them out today. With me today is Titilola Shogaolu, who is the MD of Interswitch Financial Inclusion Services. I got that right?
Yes, you did.
Amazing. So thank you, Titi, for coming. This is a friendly chat. What we want to achieve here is, International Women's Day is here. We have a lot of women, you know, feeling marginalized. A lot of women saying, oh, they didn't give this to me because I was a woman. Oh, this and oh. But you have grown. You're a leader. I see you actually, right? In one of the biggest payments fintechs in Africa, really. So this podcast is just for you to share your story.
Okay.
We feel it's important for people to know. We feel it's important for people to be inspired. And we can only do that when we share our stories, right? So tell us a bit about your journey. Tell us a bit about your achievements. How did you come in? Where did you even start? Did you even think payment was in your ambition? Is that what you wrote in JAM? How did you start?
Okay. Good morning, Nkebet, and thank you for having me. How did I start? Was payment in my radar? Of course not. I knew nothing about payment at the time. So it began at First Atlantic Bank. I had my NYSC done at the bank then. And for me, I was assigned to the internet banking and mobile banking team. And if you remember this product then, Flash Me Cash.
Of course.
Okay, so I was in the Flash Me Cash team and I was helping with training, but internal training for bank staff, onboarding clients onto the internet and mobile banking solution. I was also responsible for customer service. So really, that's how, this whole thing started then. The then MD was like, oh, mobile and technology was going to be the future of banking. So we needed to start something at the time. And I was fortunate enough to be part of the team that started that. So I left First Atlantic Bank then. I think in 2004 was when I joined Interswitch. I joined Interswitch as a salesperson. So at the time, there were about 80-something banks in the country. And we were basically speaking to them to connect to the Interswitch network. So going from bank to bank, telling them our story, telling them what they could do with offering card services. And then, their customers could get cash from ATMs at the time. That was basically what we had going for us at the time. So again, capitalization happened. CBN increased the share capital of banks. 80-something banks then collapsed to about 20-something banks. And then we thought, oh, okay, at the time, we now needed to do our mathematics to say, okay, which banks were merging. And then of the banks that were merging, if there was already a bank in the consortium that was already connected to the network, then it meant that there was not going to be any sale in that bank. So we then had to move to say, okay, what next for Interswitch? And that was how we then began our collections and disbursement solutions. And then we started selling into corporates and various industry verticals, education, the airlines, the electricity, distribution companies, state governments. And, I then started that journey of selling to them the collection solutions and then disbursement solutions. And then fast forward after that, I had to then leave, these already made or established products and solutions, and then went into something else within the Interswitch group, and that was the agency banking. At the time, it was like, oh, okay, this is something that we're going into. There were already people that were running it, but they were also moving into new roles. So again, over the course of the many years in my organization, I have moved across different roles, different functions. Thank God for exceptional leaders that I work with, always challenging, always pushing, always asking you to do more. And in the midst of it, you learn, you grow, and here we are today.
Fantastic. There's a part of your journey that you nicely navigated out of.
Okay.
You were at the forefront of QuickTeller. You were at the forefront of Paycode. You were in the midst of some of those innovations. Can you tell us a bit about those?
Okay, so yes, I was. Again, it's not me alone.
Of course.
There's usually the team as well that put together all of these products and solutions. But yes, I played a role in that. In QuickTeller, for example, yes, we had to also selling to the banking industry or informing the banking industry of what QuickTeller could do. Again, on the collection side of things, QuickTeller, you have, should I say, you have both the B2B side and you have the B2C side. You had to aggregate the billers. So there was the conversation on one hand, speaking to billers to come onto the QuickTeller platform. So the multi-choice of this world, the start times of this world, the electricity distribution company. So there's that conversation, speaking to them, onboarding them onto the platform, such that when consumers then come to the QuickTeller platform, they log in, they're able to see different billers in different industry verticals. So the conversation with corporate organizations and then onboarding them onto the platform, that was something that I was doing. That was something that I was responsible for. At the time. I then also ventured into the API space, where we then created APIs, and then we then made available to third parties who had their own front-end solutions, and then they could connect to us, and then through their own front end have access to all of these billers that we had already aggregated. So at the time, we call them the SVAs. So yes, that was also something that I was a part of.
Fantastic. And that's so, it's like a journey. It's like from a bicycle to a Beetle to an SUV to a Rolls Royce, and innovation kept on moving. And what you said was really interesting, moving into APIs. Because I remember when we started to do APIs in payments, it was like, how is this going to work?
Yeah.
But that has really grown. And I'm going to ask you a question.
Okay.
I think this is on leadership, right? Women in leadership are seen as two sides of a coin. Sometimes people feel, oh, a woman can't be a leader, they're too emotional. Sometimes people feel, oh, women are great leaders. What's your view on leadership with women, and what unique qualities do you think that women bring, into leadership, and particularly to the payment sector?
Okay, I'll say women are problem solvers.
Absolutely.
Naturally. So problems that you typically will deal with at the home front, some of those skill sets that you have developed over time, you can bring it into the professional environment. So problem solvers, you can multitask. So again, in the course of leadership, I've been responsible for people, I've been responsible for products, I've been responsible for operations, risk management, and all of those. So being able to combine all of these elements, being able to multitask. I think there's also that resilience to say, I've been giving this portfolio to manage, I've been giving this portfolio to run. It will not fail. What must I do to ensure that I'm making progress consistently? Gradual steps, gradual strides, but at the end of the day, I can look back and then say, I've moved from point A to point B. So that ability to keep pushing, to keep at it. It may not seem like, oh, okay, your things are happening, pretty fast. But at the end of the day, you can then look out and say, oh, okay, these milestones that I've highlighted or I've mapped out, have I actually progressed, and am I moving forward? And then, the people who are there also to keep you honest in terms of, okay, measuring, in terms of whatever KPIs that have been set. But I think, problem solving, being able to multitask, that resilience, that can-do spirit, so that irrespective of where you find yourself, I do all to the glory of God.
Problem solving, resilience. It must not spoil in my
It
hand.
must not spoil in my hands, not on my watch.
Love it,
You
not
know?
on my watch. And I think that's great, because you find a lot of times when people do something and it fails, they just throw their hands up and like, maybe I wasn't meant to do this. Maybe it wasn't me. Or is the problem me?
Okay.
So were there times when you felt, because in speaking to people, we also have to let them know that there are times where there was, doubts. There are times where there was failure. There are times when things didn't work the way they should. And I like how you talked about resilience, because resilience is working even when you have hit, a barrier, and you go forward. Were there are there one or two stories you can share to help people just understand that it is human?
So I believe one of those times where you're engaging a client and you believe that, for this, I have done my best. So I think for the electricity distribution companies, there are 11 of them in the country, and at the time when the privatization happened, and then there were private individuals who then bought into the then NEPA that was split up into 11. So it was a case of we needed to then go and present our solution and our capability to all of the 11. There was one particular one that, after all said and done, that confidence that, oh, okay, this went well, but all of a sudden they just went cold. They were not responding to your emails. You were trying to get information as to, oh, okay, what next? At least what's the feedback from the presentation session and how can we take this forward? But they were not forthcoming. And then you then found out that later they were on another platform. And then in your meetings, they're like, oh, why is this disco not yet on board? Why is this disco not yet on board? And that went on for like, I think about a year or two plus.
Wow.
And then all of a sudden, you get that call from them to say, hey, we are now ready to engage. The same person that you had engaged with previously. And then you were now asking, oh, but what happened? So it was at that time that they were now willing to share what had happened. So in that space of time, waiting for that feedback, waiting to say, oh, what went wrong? What could I have done better? But I mean, at the end of it all, they came back and then we engaged and they're doing business with us now.
Fantastic. So you were on it for a year.
Yes.
And you had to go into MPR every month.
And then you have this map where you would list all of the 11 discos, which ones are with you, which ones are not with you. And then you have to give why. And you didn't have a why.
You can't say he's not picking my call.
It's not picking my call. I've tried to reach them, went through different people. Also went through their parent company, who was one of the major investors in the electricity distribution company at the time. But still no joy. But in their own time, they did come back.
So patience was there as well.
Oh, yes.
Patience was there. And so, and I think that's important, because you see a lot of impatience these days. Maybe it's, I don't know, I don't want to shade Gen Zs, but you see that impatience come through. Then it moves into a sense of entitlement. Why are they not responding to me? Is it me? Is there something I did? But to your point in this story, there was nothing you did.
Yeah. So you gave it your best shot. You met whatever timelines they had indicated. And there was the almighty, this is the final presentation. And subsequently after that, you were supposed to get a feedback to say we're progressing, we're moving forward, we're dealing or not. And then they just went cold.
So My question is now to the female-led fintechs.
Okay.
Yes, you're in a bigger fintech where you're the MD of a part of the business. But let's turn our lens to female-led fintechs. It is heard or perceived, or when you look at data, that female-led fintechs receive less funding than their male counterparts. What's your take on this?
Um, Data suggests that. Data says that even in forums that we are in and in some of these fintech platforms, you do find that. Well, I think it's changing gradually.
Okay.
Why do I say that? You find out that there's some RFPs that are targeted at only women-led entrepreneurs,
Okay.
women-led organizations or businesses, or if you have products and solutions that are targeted at women and children, there's funding for it. You see that now more than before. I think women also need to learn to share their stories.
Which is what we're trying to do now.
So again, the success stories, because you just might be helping someone else out there. Your data as well should also be packaged and put together from the point of view of, if I'm going to require access to capital, I need to be able to demonstrate that my portfolio, my revenue, my turnover, my volumes, that will help that third-party organization or that lending organization or that investment entity have a view into what it is that my business is doing. And therefore, they can make an informed decision as to say, okay, this business warrants X much in capital or in asset financing, as the case may be. So again, having our data, right, that visibility to whatever it is that your business is doing. And again, technology is there now. Yeah. So again, you can sell yourself, showcase your milestones on the internet, via LinkedIn, via several channels. This is one of it.
Exactly.
Today, podcasts. I mean, there are various things that you can begin to do, leveraging technology to bring yourself out there, and then, create that visibility that would attract whatever financing or funding that you have.
I'll pick that thing you said, and I want you to maybe give an example. And you've done that. Is the framing.
Okay.
So what I hear you say is women need to learn to frame their ideas properly.
Okay.
That's what I hear you say, right?
Yes, frame their ideas properly, one. I don't want to use the term package yourself. It's not packaging in a wrong or in a negative way.
Exactly.
But be able to have a coherent story about what it is your business is doing,
Yes.
what you have already done,
Exactly.
and where it is that you want to take the business to. So that way they can see your past performance, they can see your present performance, and they can see what your projections into the future are. Again, if I use lending organizations, you want to loan money. They need to see your history to say, I want to loan you 500,000 naira, for example. What cash flows do you have that supports that the 500,000 naira can be paid, or you have the capability to pay that back over whatever time period that may have been defined? So if you do not have your history to show what it is that you have been doing, then there's no basis for them going into, okay, this 500,000 naira you have requested for is adequate or not, or perhaps it's not adequate and you should be asking for 1 million instead. So it's that, keeping your books.
Keeping your books, articulating your
story. Defining what target audience you want to capture, and more importantly, where's the future of this business? Absolutely. In the short, medium, and long term.
And I think you've now answered something I was going to ask you in terms of what strategies can women use. Now, I'm going to touch on a touchy point here. You hear women say, my boss is a chauvinist. He didn't take my idea
Okay.
because because I'm a woman. When the guy presented it, he took it, and it was the same thing. It was the same thing. But my boss has a thing with women. You're in leadership, and you're leading in a male-dominated industry. Is this true? And if not, what advice can you give to ladies, young ladies coming, people who are trying to get into leadership in payments, even if not in payments, right? In the financial technology, in the finance space, what advice can you give them?
Okay. Well, I haven't experienced that personally. I think I've worked with amazing, exceptional leaders, colleagues, both male and female. Again, is that something that happens? Perhaps in certain places, we cannot rule that out. But I think the culture of the organization is something that matters. The work environment and, what it is that organization, the values that they stand for. So I believe in such scenarios, there could be instances where you should be able to make formal complaints if such truly happens. There are whistleblowing channels that you can utilize. There's the what would I call it, human resources team, and they can carry out their independent investigation and then see if that is what truly transpired. But beyond all of this, I think developing your skills, being competent at what you do. I don't think anyone ideally in their right frame of mind and all things being equal would deny or would not acknowledge the fact that this lady has the right skill set for this kind of role or this kind of function. So let your competence and let your skill set speak for it.
Absolutely.
At the end of the day, for me, what I usually tell people around me is it will always add up. You may not necessarily be in the room when your name will be mentioned. In one of the roles that I played in my organization.
Please say that again. They didn't hear you at the back.
You may not necessarily be in the room where your name will be mentioned.
So your
work, your competence, your skill will speak for you. Again, it's also about making yourself available in terms of they're launching a new product and an email has gone out to say, we need people who can help us test. The testing is not that you are leaving your office, your desk. It's maybe download something on your phone, download something on your laptop, perform a few transactions and give us feedback. It doesn't hurt. So again, why not if not?
Exactly.
I think I'm known for that. In terms of, we're putting something out there, help us test it. We're putting something out there, help us check and give feedback. The feedback will come. It helps the product owner, the product person improve on what it is that they have developed before it actually gets out there. So again, it may not be related to your current or your exact role or function at the time being, but sparing some 30-20 minutes over a time period to perform certain transactions and then give feedback. Why not if not?
And I think it also helps you know more.
Definitely.
You are testing it. You now know what you did not know.
Yeah.
And if you add what you know versus now what you've now learned.
And what you know, it's yours for life. So again, people should actually, make themselves available. You should be willing to share, willing to participate, willing to collaborate with people. Technology it exists, and with technology, there's a lot that you can do. You can learn, you can share, you can teach, you can coach, you can mentor. So I believe, all of these things do come to bear. But at the end of the day, your competence, your skill, your attitude as well.
Yes.
Again, when some of these stories of my boss does not like me, it's because I'm a woman, also sit down to reflect, to say, what was my attitude?
Absolutely.
So it's always best to hear two sides of the story.
Yes.
Yeah. So what was your attitude? Was your attitude also right? That
Amanda said there's a danger
put
to
him
story
off to say, do you see the way Titi talked to me?
Absolutely. And that's amazing. Those are nuggets and I'm hoping, we're hoping that as people are watching it, they're getting these nuggets, how to grow, how to develop yourself, and how to grow in an organization. Because in corporate, I don't see male and female. It is, what can you do?
Yeah.
What's your competence?
What value are you bringing
What
to the
value are you
table?
bringing?
Okay. Again, typically when roadmaps are shared, when the vision is painted, and where do I fit into where this company is going to?
Absolutely.
And then as long as you're able to add value along what pathway has been defined, there's nobody to put you down or turn you off, as the case may be.
Absolutely. No, that's amazing. Now we're going to turn to IFIS, because we can't live here without understanding just what you do and your team. I'm sure you have loads of people. Can you tell us a bit about IFIS?
Okay, so IFIS is one of the licensed super agents in the country, licensed by the central bank, and it's an agent network that is set up across the country. So we have agents in all of the 36 states in the country. And basically, what are we doing? We're bringing access to financial services closer to the people. So at the agent location, you're able to open a bank account, you're able to withdraw money, you're able to pay your bills, you're able to transfer funds, you're able to, what else? So pay bill, buy airtime, as the case may be. And, just taking it beyond that. So we do have agents that are in their various locations and then trading, utilizing our platform and the technology that we have equipped them with. But we also do have agents that are located in corporate organizations environment, in state governments offices, that are also helping with collections of various taxes, levies, and fees that state government may be interested in collecting from citizens. So we do have implants, if I could use that term, in some of these locations as well. At the end of the day, it's all towards driving the agenda of the Central Bank of Nigeria to ensure that there's that inclusion generally.
So let's talk about inclusion, and maybe this will be the last major topic we would speak on. When we talk about inclusion, I'm usually very circumspect as to, are we talking about semi-inclusion or full financial inclusion? Because when I think financial inclusion, I'm thinking that guy in Gombe by the border of Maiduguri or by the border of Adama. Is he really included? Does he have access to funds? Because these are places that still use cash. So in financial inclusion, are we going to this semi-included, or are we doing full financial inclusion? What's your take on that? Have you been able to crack it?
It's full financial inclusion.
Really?
There's no semi, but all joint. Again, for me, I typically say you cannot separate financial inclusion from economic inclusion. Because the person that you want to be financially included, saying open a bank account or open a wallet, the funds that is going to come in there has to come from a source. So what's his source of livelihood? What is he or she doing? So if the person is not empowered to have something that he or she is doing, then where is the funds going to come from that he's going to put into whatever account or whatever wallet, or is going to have something to be able to transfer to somebody. So that inclusion has to start from, you need to empower me so that I'm stable enough and I have extra that I am able to put aside to say, okay, let me start saving. But in terms of the inclusion that we're driving, it's across the 36 states, in all of these border towns and border locations. And, you know, getting them to open accounts, getting them to have access to those who are technology savvy enough to be able to do these transactions on their own. And where they are not able to, they have agents that are close by, such that they don't have to travel far to get all of these transactions done on their behalf.
Interesting. So now, on a personal note, what's a typical day? What is a typical day like for a CEO?
Wow. Okay, so get up in the morning, get ready, prayers, get to work, calendar, what meetings do I have? Are the internal meetings, are the external meetings? Do I have to prepare for any of them? Which ones am I facilitating or leading, or am I contributing to? Again, team members as well. What challenges are they brought forward that I need to assist with? We call them blockers. What blockers do you have today? What blockers are there that you need me to step in to unblock? Again,
problem solving.
Whether it's within the team or outside of the team, whatever the blockers are, let's know. If I'm not having meetings, is reports that maybe colleagues have shared to look at how we're doing on various fronts, on the revenue side, on the risk side, on the control side. There may be those impromptu walk-ins as well from time to time to say, oh, okay, we need your help or your assistance here. Can you help with that? Maybe one or two customer calls, as the case may be. Retire and then start to think, what am I going to eat in the evening?
Very important.
What are we cooking this evening, or what are we having them make this evening? And then calls to the kids, find out how they're doing, and then retire for the day. And if there's any unfinished business, depending on what you have the next day, for example, I was preparing yesterday for today to say this chart. What am I saying based on some of the guidelines that you had shared? So just mentally preparing to say, oh, okay, what is it? I actually even documented some of those things as well. You never know, so that's it basically. If there are management meetings, if that needs to be prepared for as well, you already know ahead that some of those dates are already set, so you can begin to plan yourself and then review as well. If I need to go to any customer site, either on the B2B side of things or an agent location, it's also been planned for, as the case may be.
Fantastic. So in this busy schedule, when you are not working, what do you like to do?
If I'm not working, I may be attending a social function.
Okay.
So it's someone's birthday, it's someone's someone just had a baby, you need to visit them. Or it could be a funeral, someone passed, you're attending the wake keep or the service of songs, or just chilling. If there's a movie in town, go to the cinema. What again? Catch something on Netflix and just chill.
So from what you said, even with your busy schedule, you're still very very, 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 very conscious about keeping relationships.
Oh, definitely. So
Because and the reason I say this is you hear people say, "Oh, I'm too busy." Oh, it's because so now you not hear their friends say, "Oh, when you became so."
no, it's important. Okay, so should I say the vice president of my Lagos Business School group?
Okay.
So I attended the SMP program, which is the senior management program, many years ago, 2000 and what, at Lagos Business School. So the class we keep together. So there's a WhatsApp group, we touch base. So we lost someone in the group, I believe it was in November last year, and the funeral and the service of songs was in January this year. So the coordination of the class members to have representation at the funeral was, something that I worked on. The speech that the class was going to give at the event, I worked on it with the president of the class group. Again, there was one of the class members who also lost lost a parent. So that facilitation to say we must be represented here. What are we doing for this person in terms of class contribution to say, oh, okay, we're giving whatever. So all of those coordination, I support and facilitate. So again, relationships, because in the course of this work, as we call professional, it's people that you're relating with.
Absolutely.
So again, building that one-on-one relationship with them, it helps. It really does help. So beyond I've come to you and I have this solution or this product, or I'm seeking your assistance or guidance, there is, how many children do you have? What's going to equate?
Be interested,
Be interested in people, and then developing those relationships. And those relationships,
you never can tell.
You never can tell. Today I'm here, tomorrow I'm not here. You've moved on to something else, but okay. Make that connection.
I was able to get you because of the relationship. That's a good example.
Yeah.
So I think we've touched on a lot of salient things. And just to recap, I think what we've learned from Titi today is be a problem solver. Be resilient.
Yeah.
Don't let the bulk stop at your desk, and don't make it no spoil for your hand, like we say in Nigeria.
On my watch.
It's not on my watch. It won't spoil on my watch. Be curious. Step out of your comfort zone. If something is brought to you, be interested. Give feedback, because you're just adding on knowledge to yourself when you do that.
Yeah.
Most of all, keep your relationships. Be relational. Don't get too busy for the things that are important.
Yeah.
Try to keep, I don't like to call it work-life balance, work-life integration. Yeah. Try to keep those gears moving in each other, as you move along. It was really, really lovely chatting with you today, Titi.
Thank you.
Is there anything I missed? Any last words you want to give?
Any last words? I would say continue to learn. Your competence, build on your competence and your skills. There's the God factor as well.
It's very, very important. Very important.
So whatever you do, it's unto the glory of God.
Yes.
Man, woman, they recognize, they don't recognize. One day, your name will be mentioned. And that skill that you thought, wasn't recognized, or it didn't count, is that, but we know she can do this and this, but she's not the one that did
your day of remembrance.
And then,
Absolutely. Love it. Thank you so much, Titi.
You're welcome.
So I've been speaking with Titilola Shogaolu, the CEO, MD of IFIS, Interswitch Financial Inclusion Services. This podcast is in commemoration of International Women's Day. We're speaking to women in payments, women who have led payments, women who are leading payments, and women who will continue to be at the forefront of a lot of innovation we see. This has been Made in Payments. I'm your host, Nkebet Meshele. It was lovely coming to your screens this morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you're watching from. Thank you so much. Thanks, Titi. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.